Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the Junior Library Guild for our Super Stories and Super Dogs webcast. We're so excited to have you here today. Get ready to learn more about author Ryan North and illustrator Mike Norton, their graphic novel Krypto, The Last Dog of Krypton, and behind the scenes of comic creation. So sit back, relax, and get ready to have some fun. But before we begin, I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items. All right, this webcast is being recorded. So if you know someone who can't be here live or you can't stay the entire hour, we have you covered. Anyone who registered will receive a follow-up email next week with a link to the on-demand recording, and it will also be available next week on our website at juniorlibraryguild.com and our YouTube channel at Junior Library Guild JLG. So please feel free to share the recording with fellow librarians, teachers, friends, and readers. Captions are also available in the Zoom control bar. We're so happy that you're all here, and thank you all for submitting your questions when registering. We are going to ask as many questions as we can today. All right. Moving on, our introduction. First, I'd like to introduce Ryan North, multiple New York Times bestselling author of both fiction and nonfiction, including the JLG selection, Krypto, The Last Dog of Krypton. Next, I'd like to introduce Mike Norton, creator of the Eisner and Harvey Award-winning webcomic Battle Pug, and illustrator of JLG selection, Krypto, The Last Dog of Krypton. And joining us from marketing is Katie Hewitt, who works as our product manager. Katie knows all things Junior Library Guild and is a pro at helping us put together webcasts like this one. Hi, I'm Kathy Olson, a selection specialist at Junior Library Guild, and you may ask, what does that mean exactly? Well, I'm a librarian who reads books targeted for our elementary and middle school students before they're published and select quality titles for our school librarians who subscribe to JLG. And don't feel left out, high school librarians. We have high school categories that we pick for as well and have amazing titles headed your way. So this has been such a fun team to work with, and I'm so grateful for the time and effort that everyone has dedicated to this webcast. All right, so getting into our presentation, the minds behind the story. All right, so this question is for both Ryan and Mike. Can you tell us a bit about yourselves? When did you begin your creative journey, and what is your favorite part of the creative process? And I'll have you two battle it out on who goes first.
I think Mike should go first.
Okay. Well, the writer dictates all, and he just told me. So
That's not true.
I I've been drawing since I was a child. Since I saw Star Wars as a kid, that's the only thing I ever wanted to do is tell visual stories. And luckily, my parents were very accommodating and let me draw when I should have been doing other things. And I pretty much only done that since then. I've had other dalliances and jobs and stuff, but I've always been drawing comic books in some form or another. So that's been about 40 years now of and 30 of those professionally. So it's been a long time. I love drawing comics because it's why wouldn't you? Anything I come up with, I can make a reality. So who needs movies when you can make them yourself?
And now I get to reveal the secret reason I wanted Mike to go first, because writers always care about control. I'm the opposite, where I went to school for computer science. I have 2 degrees in a master's degree. And it was only during that master's degree that I decided I wanted to create some of these comics I've been reading. I've been going to comic book stores, just buying books at random. And so this creative journey for me began much, much later. I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up for a very long time, and eventually figured it out. But it's never too late. And my favorite part of the creative process, and this is true though it sounds like a line, is I love when I'm writing a page of comics. I try to imagine the coolest page I can, and I write it down. And then my favorite part is when I get back the art from the artist, from Mike, and what he has created is better than what I imagined. It always feels like I'm getting away with something by having my name on the cover as well, because the fact of comics is that it takes 10 seconds to write on this page, Batman fights 100 ninjas, and that takes all days to draw. I absolutely have the easy job.
But that part, yeah, sure.
Thank you so much, both of you. Moving on to behind the making of Krypto. And by the way, I love this comic. Kudos to you both. That is why we picked it for one of our JLG selections. So, Ryan and Mike, question to both of you. What inspired you both to take this project on? Did DC reach out to you to illustrate this comic series, or did you reach out to them?
I can tell you my strange secret origin, which was DC reached out to me and said, do you have any interest in Krypto, the super dog? And I was like, yes, obviously, yes, he's great. And I wrote up a document that was basically, it's called the pitch. It's here's what I want the book to be at high level. Here's what I want it to feel like reading it. And the main core of it was always, I want Krypto to be a dog. I want Krypto to be, we're not going to see his thought balloons. He's not going to talk like Scooby-Doo and say, ruh-roh, is going to be an actual dog. Because my theory, and I think it was true in the way that Mike realized it, is the more you make Krypto feel like an actual dog, the more real he's going to seem. And the more real he seems, the more we're gonna care about him.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be. I would agree with that totally. I've kind of made a little tiny career out of drawing animals. So DC asked me to do this specifically, and I was like, yes, of course, I'm going to do this. It's a dog. Um, so yeah, and when I got the script, it was really cool because that when I write my own dog kind of comics, I specifically don't give them internal monologues or dialogue because yeah, the part of why we love animals is we kind of have to interpret what they're saying to us. So um, that's the part of I think what makes them fascinating. So.
Mm-hmm.
And they're so expressive, right? Like you can always tell they have no guile. You can always tell what a dog is feeling or thinking because it's written all over their body.
Yeah,
Everything
pure. Yeah, they're genuine. They're not
yeah,
hiding anything.
they're always sincere. They're always telling you exactly what they're feeling. And that was, I think, what I was so excited for this book, this project was that, yeah, I wrote a script, but that script is not a comic and it cannot be a comic unless you have someone like Mike who can actually realize these animals. Like some artists will just draw, a horse and it's any horse, and Mike draws particular dogs, particular animals that have these characters and personality. I think that's the heart of it. I keep saying how great you are, Mike, but I'll say it publicly because I think
I
it's true.
appreciate it. You are great as well.
Yeah, I mean, the illustrations just even on the slide, I'm like, I know exactly what Krypto's feeling.
Thank you, thank you. That's why I do it. If you got that, then that means I did my job right. And so now I'm like a dog. I have the approval. I have my snack,
Got the
my
tail wagging.
reinforcement. Yeah.
Positive reinforcement.
Yep.
This question's for Ryan. What inspired you to use the seasons of the year to divide up the chapters? And did you already know that you wanted Krypto's journey on Earth to take place within the time frame of a year before he found Clark?
That's a great question. I knew the story began from the very beginning. The story would begin with the classic Krypto origin. The spaceship comes to Earth. lost dog in this strange alien world called Earth. And I knew the last page would be him and Superboy together. So the whole point was how to get from A to B. And it became a journey. And seasons, I thought, worked well because it tells us how time is passing without having to use words to say that time is passing. When you have a silent protagonist, being able to explain stuff intuitively, we just get it from the background, I think is really powerful. Um, so it kind of came from that. And also I had the sensation that like if a dog's lost for a day, it's not really that big of a deal. But if a dog's lost for almost a year, you kind of get the sense of like this is a harrowing time for him. This is something that
Hmm.
no dog would want. And so it gave us stakes that felt real and authentic. But again, you didn't need words to communicate.
Right. I thought it was genius that he used the season. So, um,
I'm glad to hear it sounded read as genius because it's basically just trying things and seeing what works.
it worked. It definitely worked. This question's for Mike. Did you find it challenging drawing illustrations, knowing much of the story would be wordless because Krypto is the main character?
Yeah, but that was what I liked about it. I mean, the I think a lot of artists, comic book artists in particular, really kind of relish the chance to draw a wordless comic because that's sort of like putting your skills on display. If you can tell a story without any words, then that's like that's the pinnacle. So, but yeah, letting making a animal that can't speak emote is it's like if you had a person with a mask on, if you could make them like say stuff without words, then that's the challenge, and that was kind of the fun thing about it.
And it definitely came through that, mastering of your craft.
Yeah, I think
Um,
just
Thank
to
you.
hop on Mike's, I'm gonna steal some of Mike's answer. I think part of it, what what I found really gratifying with it was a book like this is it's not easy, right? No one does
right.
this because it's easy. But our editors, Sabrina Futch and Katie Kubert, believed in it from the start. They were right
Hmm.
on board. Yes, let's do this silent protagonist. Let's have him be a dog.
Yeah,
And if they weren't there to be like, we want to do this, it could very easily have been pushed towards something that'd be, I think, less realistic and less fun.
Right.
lots of captions.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. This Thank you both. And this question is for Ryan. It's a very specific question on my part.
Hmm.
On PDF, page 59, so that we see the picture here on the slide, when the girl and Krypto are asleep in the cave, it looks like there's a shooting star. Is that like a foreshadowing of Brainiac 8 landing on Earth, or is it just a shooting star and I'm reading too much into it?
So I always like this theory of the death of the author, where whatever I say doesn't matter because you're reading with the most important one. But I can tell you as the author, I wish I thought of that. That's
I
great. I
love
put the shooting star in the
that.
script because I thought it was a pretty moment and it could read if you I wanted to hint that like, oh, maybe they're doing this beautiful moment because this girl is dying. And so it made it feel like I call it a death flag. It's something that the reader goes, uh-oh, we're in trouble here. Um,
Yeah.
Mm.
but also it absolutely works for the Brainiac thing. And gosh, I wish I thought of that. So
Yeah.
everyone
That's
watching, it's
great.
now canon that is what I thought all along.
Yeah. I definitely read it as like the little matchstick girl kind of thing,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's
Yeah.
funny that I was like, is that just kind of uh showing there's hope for this little girl, or yeah, and then I was like, or was it? Yeah. So thank you for answering that. That's the magic of books, right?
yeah.
Interpretation from the,
Well,
the reader.
yeah. I think it's any art is half the conversation, right? You
Yeah.
create your part and the reader brings the other half to it. It's always going to be a living
Interpretation.
text. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Okay, thank you. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let our guests take over for a little activity where we will need our audience to participate. So I'm going
Yes,
to stop right now. Okay.
but the advantage of
Get to
Zoom
get
is
to
that
work,
it's not
people.
mandatory. Yeah, you're not going to be called on to come up on stage. You just have to put things in the chat. So what we're going to do, we're going to make a comic character together, you and me and Mike, and we're going to come up with the ideas, and Mike's going to draw it. So the first thing for a character, you can start with who this person is, or you can start with who this person looks like. And I think it would be fun to start with who this person looks like. So let's, just for the head, what kind of shape do we want for the head? And just put suggestions in the chat, and I will see them once you start typing and put some in. Because, I mean, the obvious one is circle. No one did start. We got octagon, pickle, and square. Let's go with pickle. I think pickle's a great head shape. Not a lot of
Okay.
characters have a pickle head shape. So while Mike is realizing this pickle head shape, um, this is great. What kind of eyes do we want? Do we want kind eyes? Do we want angry eyes? Do we want pickle eyes or bug eyes? I see cat eyes, which is really appealing. Wide, sad, but hopeful cat eyes is combining a lot of them. And one thing you can do as a writer is you can write anything down, and you're basically throwing the gauntlet to the artist. And you can write
Yeah.
something that's impossible, like wide, sad, but hopeful cat eyes. And I'm not even sure what that looks like, but we're going to find out when Mike gets to the eyes part of it.
Where we go with big cat eyes.
Wide, sad, but hopeful cat eyes. And like I was saying
Okay.
earlier, my favorite part of making comics as someone who doesn't really draw himself is getting to see what a professional can do with just your words, just the ideas. And it's a comic script isn't a recipe for a comic. It's not even half a comic. It's just the start of it. And then the artist brings it to life. And oh my God, we have wide, sad, but hopeful eyes. What about noses? How are we feeling about noses? We've got ideas for a button nose, a cyborg nose. Um, I do like cyborg nose, if that sparks joy. Mike,
Okay. Well, we're gonna do that then. Okay.
yeah,
What is a cyborg nose? It's like, okay.
cyborg nose. And what I find so interesting about doing this, we're just making it up as we go, but already you look at this character and you feel something about them. You have a sense of who this person is, and they don't even have a mouth yet. They just have their wide sad eyes, their pickle head, and their cyber nose. So the last major detail I think is the mouth, and on this design we have a lot of room for what the mouth could be. So what type of shape do we want for a mouth in the chat? I see injured mouth, a big wide mouth. Big wide mouth feels like it might fit the space.
Okay.
This is almost Muppet.
Yeah,
Big
I was
wide
just
mouth.
about to say he's like
Yeah.
a Muppet.
Big wide mouth with voluptuous lips, if it's not too
Okay.
late. Oh. Oh yes. This is great.
Kind
So
of looks like Jason Segel.
yeah. Dad says maybe they really love Muppets because they saw themselves in the Muppet, and I agree. Um, so we've got a face, but we need a body, and we need sort of a body shape. So we've got a bunch of shapes. What shape do we want to do for the body here? And once we have the body, we're going to come up with a name for the last bit. Um, Suggestions for bodies include potato,
Potato.
upside down ice cream, a
Okay.
long body with a pot belly. I'm gonna I like upside down ice cream because I'm not sure how you're gonna do that.
Okay. Well, watch how I do it.
Normally, comics is a lot more of a collaboration, a lot less of just saying, "Hey, Mike, here's something that can't be drawn. What do you got?" And on this body, if you could add expressive hands, that would be great. So if I'm looking at this character, I'm thinking he's probably not well, he could be used for something really serious. He could be like a real high period drama kind of guy. But I'm picturing more like he's got real sidekick energy to me. Like,
Yeah,
here's the
yeah.
guy who's always up for whatever, down to go along on any sort of adventure with his expressive hands and upside down ice cream cone body. And those are very expressive hands. So, as Mike is completing him here, the last thing we need is a name. Um, and I always find when I'm trying to think of names, I start with my friends and I think of my friends' names, but I've used up all those years ago. Now you have to do actual names. Um, where I usually start with naming characters, I try to figure out how old they are. And then I look up popular names in that year in the past. So 17 years ago, I look up what are the popular names 17 years ago. Uh, but you can skip all that when you have a name in the chat like Mooster,
Monster. Wow.
which gets it in
Awesome.
one. There's also Augustus, aka Gusty. There's Pickleman, Norton North,
Ghosty.
Mayan Northton, which feels a little, I can't name a character that, but you could, Mike. But I feel
Oh,
like
that's
Mooster
funny.
really captures the heart of who this guy is. I saw in the
Okay.
chat someone was saying, Ivan was saying he looks like he does stand-up comedy, and I can see that a sidekick who does stand-up comedy. Mikkel Mooster. I
Yes.
think what's so
That'd be
amazing
cool.
is we start with a blank sheet of paper, and this gave a pickle head, and ice cream cone body, and expressive hands, and sad eyes, and now we've got this Mooster guy who's a stand-up comic. Oh, he's got his letter on his belt. Love that. That is peak character design right there. Um, And I want to know this guy. I think the next step when you do something like this, it's just a doodle. Uh, but you've got a character already just from this, and then you start thinking about what the stories are and what this person can do and what challenges you can give them as they're doing open mic, trying to make the people laugh. And how did he get the cyber nose?
That was a rough night at the comedy club.
Or maybe he's a mime who's really good when he walked into an invisible wall and just managed to force a break into it. So this is the littlest taste of what it is like to make comics. It's much less live than this normally. I'm alone in my room trying to
Yeah.
think of who this guy is, but it's one of my favorite things to get to hang out with artists. And most of the artists I know, and you can answer if this is true, Mike, tend to doodle just for fun wherever they have a pencil and a pen in front of them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If there's nothing else to do, that's kind of our default mode most of the time.
Yeah. The life hack I can share with the entire audience is if you befriend artists and hang out with them enough, eventually they will draw you. Then you get a sketch of yourself.
That is true. Whether you want it or not, we will
Yeah,
probably draw you. So
yeah. I mean, I feel like I see a bit of my eyes in Mooster's eyes here.
you
I
know,
feel like he
maybe
captures.
I can give him some glasses.
Oh, he just got 100% more handsome. And yeah, this is the very earliest stages of comics and creative collaboration, where you're just saying, "What if? What if we did this? What if we did that?" And you end up with Mooster, the stand-up comic with a cyber nose and glasses and a pickle head and sad eyes but expressive hands and plaid pants.
What a weird guy. Oh, I like it.
Yeah. So thank you for coming along with us on this journey. And Mooster thanks you too. He says, "Try the fish."
Yeah.
Oh,
Perfect. We got
I
to work
love
this guy into
that.
something.
Yeah.
Krypto 2, he meets Mooster.
Yeah. Oh no. Oh no, that means he did something wrong.
Uh-oh.
This is great. Thank you.
Yep.
Great exercise.
This is amazing. Thank you both so much. And thank you to the audience for all those great ideas.
Yes, we made it together. Any other day, Mooster would not exist.
Mm-mm.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. Um, all right. That was amazing. Thank you. All right. So we're going to move forward to the portrayal of Lex Luthor in our book Krypto.
Mm.
This question is for Ryan. From a narrative perspective, what were you trying to convey with Krypto's relationship with Lex? Was it meant to be a learning experience for Krypto, or was it meant to convey Krypto's personality, which is very similar to Superman's in his concepts of right and wrong?
That's a great question. And I can tell you the initial idea came from we're now telling a Krypto story, which is a story that everybody kind of knows what happens, right? He comes to Earth, he meets Superman, here's what happens in between. And when everyone knows the story, the first thing you want to do is make them lean forward and say, oh, wait, hold on. And by having this is the last page of the first issue, by having that last page be Lex Luthor finding Krypto, suddenly you're thinking, okay, we're in uncharted territory. This is new. This is exciting. I want to find out what happens next. But Lex is not a good man. Lex is a ambitious man. Well, he near is just a child, but he's ambitious. He's got big goals for himself, but he's willing to do a lot of things to achieve them that are not good. And Krypto is our protagonist and he's our hero. And having him on Earth without power suddenly fall into Lex's clutches, really, it lets us see who Krypto is and it lets us see who Lex is. And Lex isn't the star, but it does tell us who this interesting person is. So it does both. It lets us see who Krypto is and it lets Krypto make a choice. He gets taken in by this person who feeds him and cares for him in his way. It's not a very kind way, but Krypto eventually is like, no, I'm not going back. This is not who I want to be or what I want to be. So it by having him fall in with a bad caretaker of a dog, a bad dog owner, it lets Krypto make a choice, and it also sets him down at a low point so he can move towards the high point of finding Superboy and his true love there. So that's a very writerly answer, but that's the
No,
truth.
I love it. I was gobsmacked when when I read that he met Lex, and I was like, oh my goodness. And yeah, it made for a really great story, and it made me want to keep reading and find out what happened. And I got very upset with the treatment of Krypto by Lex. All right. This question's for Mike. Was it difficult to draw these frames? Like, are you a dog lover?
Oh
And
yeah.
did that emotional impact of being a dog lover affect your decision on working on this?
Oh yeah, several issues. I've had people ask me at conventions. They tell me, you know, I cried when I read this, and I was like, I had to draw it. I was sitting there crying while I was drawing some of this stuff, and you know, Lex is probably the nicest part. You know, like yeah, Krypto goes through the ringer a little bit, and I mean, it kind of shows you. Uh, how good the dog is that he's seen all this terrible stuff that humanity has to offer and he's like nope still gonna be a nice dog but yeah it was tough it's never fun to see things happen to animals even if it's a drawing.
Right? Yeah. It's still hard to, yeah, I cried. My coworker that read it cried. So,
I did
uh,
hear from people that they cried in the first issue when Krypto left Krypton. And I remember hearing that and being like, oh no. Because
I did tell a few people it's gonna get worse.
yeah,
I apologize in advance.
it's so good though. So yeah, it's so good. I recommend this to anyone that I can to read it.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we're gonna move on for tips and for our aspiring authors and illustrators. So this question is directed to both of you. What advice or tips do you have for aspiring authors to begin their graphic novels or books? What can we do to help our students who are very talented get their very first comic book published or out in the open market?
I'll go first in this one because I bullied you last
Sure.
time into going first, Mike.
No, that's totally fine. You actually have a better background.
Well, I think my advice, and this is sincere advice, is to not start with that big story you've got because everyone has an amazing epic they want to do. And comics take a lot of time. It's a very labor-intensive art form. And the skills you need to do a 200-page graphic novel are not that different than the skills you need to do an 8-page mini comic or just a short story. And so my advice was don't start with a big project. Start with something small you can finish and you can have and then put in someone's hands and say, look, we did this or I did this. And this is what it accomplishes. Yeah, you have your comic, you made a comic. That's terrific. But if you do want it to work in this industry, it's something you can put in people's hands and say, this is what my art looks like, what my storytelling looks like. These are kind of stories I like to tell. It's so much more convincing to read a great comic and say, I want to hire this person than it is to have the person say, I promise you I'm good. So
Yeah.
do something small that you can
Mhm.
finish and then, print it out, self-publish it. And if you want, hand it out, put it online. It works so well as a like entertaining narrative visual resume than anything else, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Very
I
good advice.
mean, anything I say would be in addition to that because I mean, especially these days. I mean, it used to be different when I was younger, and I think nowadays the best way to make comics is to make a comic. You
Yep.
just do it, even if you don't really know how to do it. Um, but today information is everywhere. You can find a lot of stuff out. And but yeah, don't wait around for someone to give you permission to make this stuff because you might not get it. So I would say make it and see what people say, and they'll they'll usually tell you if they like it or not, and
Yeah.
then you can go from there. And I mean, as far as drawing goes, try to learn how to draw everything.
But
I mean,
that's the
just
nice thing
look,
about art. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead, Mike.
yeah, it's just even the boring stuff because you're gonna have to draw it at some point. You got to
Yeah.
be able to draw everything.
And I was gonna say the
Right.
nice thing about art, both for visual and writing, is that there's no way to do it and not get better at it. It's like if you
Yeah,
practice
yeah,
shooting hoops every day, you get better at shooting hoops. If you just write
absolutely.
every day or draw every day, you get better at drawing.
Hmm.
I saw Ivan asked, can they break down a small part of a big story if they have a big story for their first comic? And yeah, you can absolutely do that. If you can make someone feel something in 8 pages or 4 pages, then you can absolutely make them feel something in 120 pages. So it's a little bit, it's great practice and it's a great thing to have to just say, look, I
Yeah,
did this, I can do more of this if you want. And you get better at it by doing it. You get better just by making comics at comics.
yep.
Definitely, yeah. Um, Thank you both. Great answers, great tips. And yeah, and definitely like I don't want to see AI take over our
Right.
artists' work and no.
I mean, I'd
Yeah.
advise against that um,
I would
for a ton
advise
of
that.
reasons.
Yeah,
Yes, and I'm like I think most people don't want to see that. We love seeing artists' authentic work.
Especially if you're trying to break in. If you couldn't be bothered to write it or draw it, why should anyone be bothered to read it?
Right, exactly. Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much for those answers. Really enjoyed talking to you. I'm going to hand it over to Katie, and she's going to let our audience know about JLG.
Yeah, you might be wondering, what is Junior Library Guild? Junior Library Guild has been getting great books like Krypto into the hands of libraries for 95 years. And we have is a group of librarians like Kathy who are reading these books before they're even published. So they haven't even been printed yet, and they're reading these books. In fact, our selectors read 5,000 books cover to cover every single year, and they choose books that they feel are going to be hits, and they're going to be published and circulated and read and loved. And they categorize them into different genres based on age level and interests. And then our librarians subscribe to those categories, and we ship them 1 to 2 books a month in that category. And Krypto was a book that Kathy read as a selector, so you're kind of getting an inside peek of how JLG selections come to be. Kathy read this book as a selector, and she put it in the, I'm going to the slide about the categories here. We got to go back one. Yeah, keep going back there. One more, I think. Yep. This goes into the graphic novels high plus category. So this is one of the books that Kathy read and said, this is going to be a huge hit. And she selected this book. And now we get to talk to Mike and Ryan on this webcast. So if you're interested in getting curated books from librarians and Junior Library Guild, Junior Library Guild is going to be something that you definitely want to look at. And the graphic novels high plus, if you love this book, you definitely want to look at this category as well. So next slide, we'll talk about, we are going to do a giveaway for $50 in free books. You are going to get a pop-up survey when this is over. We're almost done here. If you fill out that survey, you'll be entered into our drawing for $50 in free books, and we'll contact you if you are the winner. But before we go for that, we have just a few more things to share with you. We have some really great promotions for schools that want to join Junior Library Guild. The first thing is this awesome neon sign that says, "Hooray, it's Library Day." We are going to be giving away an entry to every new member that joins Junior Library Guild, or anybody who is a member that renews their membership between April 1st and May 15th. You'll get an entry into this awesome sign to light up your library space. And we are also going to give you, go ahead there. Oops, I think it went backwards. Gotta go to the next one. There you go. A free LED glow dry erase board. This is great for sending messages to your patrons or keeping track of books that you're checking out or special announcements. You'll get this free when you join us as a new member, and you'll get it free if you renew, and that's all by April or May 15th. And then if you add any categories, if you're new, you get $50 in free books per category that you can spend at our virtual warehouse. So you can get Krypto or some other books that we have in our warehouse. And if you're renewing, you're going to get free book credits as well. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so we are at the end of our webcast. Thank you so much, Ryan and Mike and Kathy, for facilitating all of this. I love Mooster. Is his name Mooster? I love him. I was like, maybe that needs to be the next JLG mascot. We'll have Mooster. I love him. This was so fun. And you are going to get a pop-up survey. It'll get emailed to you, or you can fill it out right after here, and then we'll do our free book drawing. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. This was so much fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.